Welcome to Pavinars, webinars for the pavement community. Today we'll briefly talk about relating asphalt binder aging to mixture aging, as described in NCHRP Report 967. The objective of this report was to link binder aging to mixture aging. So they started looking at the aging during construction or short-term aging, and this involved a critical review of AASHTO T240. They also compared AASHTO T240 to other short-term aging methods, and they discussed some potential T240 improvements. In addition to the short-term aging, they also explored the life aging or long-term aging of the asphalt binder. And to do this, they first examined the cracking data from LTPP, which allowed them to look at non-load related cracking that occurred. They performed a critical evaluation of AASHTO R28. They compared AASHTO R28 to other long-term aging methods. Finally, they performed a field evaluation to confirm and validate running the pressure aging vessel or PAV with 12.5 gram samples for 20 hours at 2.1 megapascals pressure. And this is to simulate approximately 10 years of aging. And they found that there was a relationship between the temperature of aging, the film thickness of aging, and time of the aging. So there's a lot of discussion revolving around temperature, film thickness, and time when they're trying to link the binder aging to mixture aging. From this research, they found 3 scenarios moving forward based on this research. The first scenario is conditioning for current performance grading, so not changing the current PG grading system. They suggested to keep the production or short-term aging the same for AASHTO T240, so no changes, because they didn't see any improvement with alternate procedures. And on the right is an example of one of the alternate procedures, which was the UK aging profile test. They also recommended in this scenario for the life aging or the long-term aging that AASHTO R28 also has no changes to the aging procedure. And this is because the alternate PAV long-term aging resulted in significantly more aged material. So if we're going to keep the current performance grade specifications, they don't recommend any changes in the aging protocol, either short-term or long-term. However, a second scenario is to include the delta TC criterion. So the delta TC criterion is a new criterion trying to capture performance of asphalt binder. And if delta TC is added to both AASHTO M320 and 332, they suggest changing the PAV protocol only, so only changing long term. They suggest moving away from the 50 gram samples at 40 hours under 2.1 megapascal pressures and move toward 12.5 gram samples at 20 hours, also at 2.1 megapascal pressures. They suggest continue using the T240 for short-term aging, but they do note that with the new PAV protocol, you need strict leveling requirements to make sure you have a homogeneous depth of your sample in the PAV pan. And they also recommend to form the thin film in that PAV pan under nitrogen at 135 degrees Celsius because this ensures that modified asphalt binders are a uniform thickness. Now, one of the alternate aging procedures they examined was a sonic bath. This was one of the alternates, but it was not recommended moving forward, but it's interesting to see what the alternates were. And finally, the third scenario they saw was revising both the conditioning and the performance grading specifications. So this is the most major amounts of change. For both the short and the long-term aging, they suggested using PAV pans. For the short-term aging, they suggested using 12.5 grams at 85 minutes at 136 degrees Celsius. And for the long-term, they suggested 12.5 grams for 20 hours at 2.1 megapascal pressure. And the benefits is you have the same film thickness for both short and long term, which means you have less equipment. You can get rid of your RTFO. And you can see here they also played around with some different pan configurations in order to get a homogeneous thin film within that pan. However, some obstacles that remained is that there would be changes needed to both the intermediate and low temperature grading criteria. So the PG grading would need to change. And also because you were having more use of the PAV, really you have fewer binder samples per PAV run or sets of runs, which means you might need to invest in some more PAV equipment. If you're interested in learning more, I encourage you to check out NCHRP Report 967. This is available free for download, and the full citation can be found below.